The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content, and is sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.
Conservation and preservation. These are more than just words. They represent a way of life for many of us. As stewards of this planet we call Earth, all of us must meet our obligations to conserve our natural resources. Equally important is the preservation of wildlife habitat and ecosystems from needless destruction. I'm Ed Begley, Jr. Join me this week on Today's Environment as we explore some practical ways to conserve our resources and protect our environment.
Today, City Council
reducing
9,000
reducing air
supermarkets
pollutants by
a milestone.
80%. Educational programs.
These beautiful bonsai trees have had their growth adjusted by pruning their roots and limbs. In other words, by managing their environment. However, by mismanaging our global environment with air, water, and soil pollution, the effects can be devastating. Now let's look at a creative solution to a pressing environmental matter.
Improvements are constantly being sought for more environmentally beneficial ways to generate power. Fossil fuels like oil, coal, and natural gas are of limited supply and could eventually run dry. They also contribute to ozone depletion if not used conservatively. The latest technologies are setting new standards to combine the strength of the fuel source, whether it be coal, gas, or renewables such as wood chips and water, with environmentally clean and economically sound electrical generation. One way this is being done is through cogeneration. This process generates 2 forms of useful energy simultaneously from only one fuel source, thermal and electrical energy. While most electrical plants use the same type of fossil fuels to power their facilities, much of that energy escapes in the exhaust, as much as 30 to 40%. Cogeneration captures the waste heat before it escapes and uses it to generate steam that is later sold to nearby businesses. The companies using steam vary a great deal. Some make consumer goods like baking soda and detergent. Some pasteurize milk, while others manufacture chemicals, all by using steam. This is energy that once had to be produced in the factories. By purchasing the steam from a nearby plant, the factory can shut down old, environmentally dirty, and inefficient boiler systems. At the Salt City Energy Plant, steam is generated with 5 boilers, each 65 feet tall, containing 15,000 gallons of water. The water inside the boilers is heated to 875 degrees Fahrenheit and placed under 875 pounds of pressure using low sulfur coal. The hot water turns to steam. Some of it drives modern turbines to generate electricity. After it's used, it's converted back to water in cooling towers, where air is blown through the steam and it condenses back to hot water. The water is used again in the boiler systems, creating a totally recyclable system. The designers of Salt City took recycling seriously when planning their new plant. Instead of building it from scratch and using up new resources and land, the planners took a 50-year-old abandoned power plant and, at a cost of $160 million, retooled its inner workings. With the addition of cooling towers, Onondaga Lake is no longer the source of cooling water, helping to preserve what was once one of the most polluted bodies of water in North America. The final outcome is a reliable, abundant supply of electricity and steam that will greatly reduce the impact on the air we breathe. Solutions taking us into the 21st century, while we all share in the wealth of a greener world.
Between the 1780s and 1980s, Florida has seen the loss of 46% of its wetlands. This has had a profound effect on wildlife habitat and the state's supply of fresh water. Recently, Today's Environment visited a place where people are working to make our world a better place to live. Let's see what they found.
Trees, crops, and foliage are some of mankind's most valuable possessions. They provide us with food and shelter. Without them, we could not exist. Today, their usefulness has been extended to include a fuel resource to meet the growing demand for energy. In the past, wood was burned in fireplaces and wood stoves to produce heat for our homes and businesses. Today, modern combustion technologies are allowing us to utilize waste woods and byproducts for industries to generate electricity and meet our needs in an environmentally responsible manner. Over the centuries, the human influence on forests took a negative turn. Seedlings, fragile trees, and flowering vegetation lay in waste in what used to be bountiful forests filled with foliage, vegetation, and wildlife. We have since realized that our forests are precious, dwindling resources. Today, reforestation projects are working to replenish them by planting seedlings on large areas of already cleared acreage. Now, when loggers cut timber, careful measures are taken to utilize all parts of the trees and preserve the reforestation process. When cutting selected woods, undesirable species are removed to allow the strong, harvestable trees more room to grow to their full potential. In the past, there was no market for the unwanted timber. Experts have now found a way to convert it to fuel and generate power. The Hydroco Craven Power Plant in North Carolina relies solely on wood to fuel this power-generating facility. Trees, limbs, and other waste wood products are chopped into 1-inch chips. The chips are brought to the power plant. The wood chips are taken from piles into the plant, where they're fed on demand into the boiler system. The smoke and fumes often associated with wood stoves are greatly reduced due to the specialized burning process that allows for complete combustion. As a result, products of combustion are controlled, greatly reducing harmful emissions into the air. What remains is a very fine ash, still containing all of the nutrients and minerals found in the trees. In the past, the ash from biofacilities would have been taken to a landfill. Today, Hydroco gives a percentage of the plant's ash to farmers to use as a fertilizer on their potato fields. More is used as a daily ground cover for area landfills. In addition, this ash can be utilized as a bulking agent for sewage treatment plants, or returned to the forest to replenish the soil and help new trees grow. Diverting waste from landfills, restocking our natural resources, researching new technologies, refining proven ones, and lowering emissions. These are all steps power generators are taking to meet environmental requirements and keep our planet as bountiful and beautiful as the day mankind first learned how to utilize its abundant, precious gifts.
Acid rain can raise the level of sulfuric acid in lakes and ponds to a point where it kills all living things, leaving a dead body of water. To head this off, the Clean Air Act requires major reductions in industrial and power plant smokestack emissions, which are a major cause of this problem. Next, we'll see how another environmental problem is being addressed.
This peaceful community, these graceful plains, this long stretch of highway, all tranquil depictions of life in the American West. But underneath these seemingly unaffected landscapes lay modern-day pipelines transporting natural gas and other substances. In the United States, great care is taken to ensure that pipelines are a safe and economical way to move petroleum, chemicals, and other products to their markets. However, spills and leaks, though infrequent, can and do occur. When this happens, action must be swift and certain to minimize hazards to our environment and costs due to lost products and cleanup activities. Many companies are now beginning to take steps to ensure that action is taken as quickly as possible. This includes utilizing highly sensitive environmental monitoring systems to supplement the other more routine precautions, such as pressure monitors. Teledyne Geotech, a division of Teledyne Incorporated, has been developing seismic, meteorological, pipeline control, petroleum exploration, and other products to monitor our environment for over 50 years. They now produce a system called LASP, which stands for Leak Alarm System for Pollutants. It ensures the safe transportation of fuel and chemicals in pipelines and their storage in holding tanks. The LASP allows small leaks to be detected and located before they become hazardous. Not only can the LASP detect leaks of oil or natural gas, but it can also detect specific hazardous gases in very small quantities. Take, for example, a LASP system in place monitoring a natural gas pipeline carrying unprocessed gas from offshore drilling sites to gas plants located inland. Unfortunately, and as is often the case, natural gas is composed of about 5% hydrogen sulfide, a dangerous compound that must be removed upon arrival at the gas plant.
The leak alarm system for pollutants, or LASP, was designed to offer our customers several valuable features. It can detect and locate very small leaks, less than 0.1 gallon per hour, and it can operate in the presence of water, something which many alternative systems cannot do. In addition, it can detect not only oil and natural gas, but also other chemicals and gases by merely changing the sensor we use in the system.
A typical LASP leak detection system is comprised of up to 10 miles of small sensor tube, which is laid next to a pipeline, connected to an air filtering unit at one end and a detection unit at the other. This 10-mile unit can be duplicated continuously to cover any length of pipeline. If a leak occurs, vapors from the leaking substance migrate through the soil and into the sensor tube. Periodically, the air, along with any leaking substance, are automatically pumped through the tube past a sensor that will detect and locate the leaking substance. If a leak exists, an alarm sounds at the pipeline company's facility. Information is automatically transmitted to a computer which indicates the strength and location of the leak. Armed with this information, pipeline company personnel can quickly control and repair the leak before any significant harm can occur. Teledyne Geotech has developed a system that's giving surrounding residents peace of mind and our land additional means of protection in a society seeking safe and cost-effective alternatives like natural gas.
The destruction of wildlife habitat is one of the leading causes of extinction for plants and animals. According to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in 1991, worldwide there were 303 mammals and 225 bird species on the endangered or threatened list. Now let's turn our attention to another environmental problem and solution.
The ocean, the largest water treatment facility in the world. Every day, the ocean cleans millions upon millions of gallons of water before it evaporates into the sky to become rain. When rain falls on land in higher elevations, it's cleansed even further as it's absorbed by the earth and filtered through many layers of porous rock. Then it gathers in springs and finds its way down mountain streams and rock-bottomed creek beds until it reaches our lakes and rivers, clean, fresh, and in some cases, even ready to drink. Mother Nature's highly sophisticated system for providing clean water has successfully served mankind for thousands of years. But it is very delicate, and unfortunately, we have overtaxed its capabilities by using the ocean to dump our garbage, raw sewage, and uncountable gallons of contaminated wastewater. Since the introduction of the Clean Water Act in 1972, our government has tightened the regulations governing the discharge of wastewater. Wastewater must be collected and treated to cleanse the water of harmful bacteria and waste through biological decomposition. The organisms used to decompose the waste are subsequently separated from the treated water in a process called clarification, where they are thickened into liquid sludge. For many years, millions of gallons of liquid sludge have been dumped into the ocean. More recently, governments have prohibited the ocean dumping of sludge, and as a result, the wastewater treatment industry has responded to the challenge through innovative technology. Companies like American Cyanamid of Wayne, New Jersey, are dedicated to the research and development of new high-performance organic flocculants designed to improve the dewatering of wastewater sludges. The flocculant, once added, binds itself to the sludge solids so that the water can be squeezed out to form a cake. There are many types of machines designed to dewater wastewater sludges, such as the belt filter press, the centrifuge, the screw press, and the plate and frame filter press. Without the aid of the flocculant, these machines would be ineffective. The company's advanced line of patented XL flocculants produce very dry cakes that capture as much as 99% of the solids contained in the sludge. The dry cake can then be managed in a number of ways. It can be recycled through composting or applied directly to the land as a fertilizer. It can be incinerated or deposited into landfills. The drier cake is easier to incinerate and greatly reduces the amount of energy used in the process. The benefits are reflected in the reduced volume of sludge to manage, lowering costs for the municipalities, and ultimately a cleaner environment. American Cyanamid is helping to make our water resources recover from the years of abuse they have suffered due to dumping and contamination of our oceans, lakes, and rivers. Waste pollutes our environment, and we must work to recycle it or dispose of it properly. Mother Nature has worked hard to provide us with clean water for thousands of years. Now it's time for us to help repair the damage we've done and help make her job a little easier.
Did you know that more than 97% of the world's water is salt water in our oceans? And a little over 2% is frozen in the polar ice caps. The remainder, which is less than 1%, is fresh water in our rivers, lakes, and underground aquifers. Indeed, our supply of fresh water is limited, and we must conserve it. In this next segment, we'll see how one company is dealing with an environmental situation.
When you think of air pollution, billowing smokestacks and smog from auto emissions come quickly to mind. That's probably because these types of pollution are so visible. There are other types of air pollution that can be damaging, but you don't see them, nor do you hear as much about them. Among these are emissions of formaldehyde and volatile organic compounds, or VOCs as they're called. Formaldehyde may be familiar to some biology students. It's a commonly used preservative for specimens. It's also used in many manufacturing operations and is emitted during the cross-linking process, which takes place in the curing of certain finishes. But formaldehyde is also a hazardous material and has been linked to skin irritations, respiratory problems, and cancer. VOCs from petroleum distillates are common ingredients in paints and varnishes for the wood finishing industry. These substances are also considered hazardous and have been linked to the depletion of the ozone layer. Acting on these threats to the environment, Congress has put strong pressure on various government agencies to come up with plans to reduce and/or eliminate these sources of air pollution. As recently as June 26, 1992, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration toughened its standards for formaldehyde in the workplace. Likewise, the Environmental Protection Agency, through the Clean Air Act of 1990, is pressing for action. The paint and wood finishing industry accounts for only a small amount of formaldehyde used, and only 0.54% of all VOC emissions. However, it's facing a tough time. Compliance with these new regulations could be costly in terms of development expenses and lost jobs if recycling and reclaiming are necessary. However, reducing emissions at the source can alleviate some of the potential added costs. One company's advances in its quest for more environmentally friendly paints and finishes is helping. Guardsman Products Incorporated, headquartered in Grand Rapids, Michigan, has developed a wood finishing system called Enviro Plus. Designed for use on wood furniture and kitchen cabinets, this water-based wood finish is formaldehyde-free. It also offers up to 60% less volatile organic compounds than traditional wood finishes. The new system starts with environmentally safe spray and wipe stains, wash coats, and toners. In its application, the preliminary coats are then followed by a top coat that is also formaldehyde-free and low in VOCs. These new high-performance finishes from Guardsman compare favorably with traditional lacquers in all standard household chemical test categories. This system also offers higher solids, which increases the transfer efficiency, resulting in less product needed to reach an equivalent film thickness. From an environmental point of view, this represents a significant source reduction for large manufacturers. And the need for this reduction helped begin the search for safer alternatives like formaldehyde-free and low VOC wood finishes.
About 100 bolts of lightning strike somewhere in the earth every second. Many trees fall victim, but it's all part of nature's law. The dead trees become inhabited by birds and many different types of insects. When trees are chopped down by man, it's a different story, because wildlife habitat is usually lost forever. Our next segment shows how technology is being applied to solving another environmental problem.
This is the Platte River in Nebraska. Here, an estimated 9 million waterfowl gather during the spring, along with endangered bald eagles, falcons, and whooping cranes. Years ago, the mile-wide Platte River was filled with braided channels that appeared in the springtime, after the annual snowmelt runoff of the Rockies had dwindled away. These channels consisted of barren sandbars created by loose sediment that had formed mounds before the water subsided. Sandbars serve a valuable purpose for the endangered birds. They provide the perfect nesting site. There is no vegetation to conceal predators, and a protective moat surrounds the nests and hatchlings. Today, the Platte River is just a third of its original size due to irrigation and water diversion to nearby communities and industrial sites. The birds unknowingly use the river's small sandbars as their nesting ground. But when the slightest increase in water flow occurs, the nests are destroyed, sometimes wiping out an entire season's nesting effort. This problem led the Platte River Whooping Crane Habitat Maintenance Trust to begin a unique dredging project, one that would remove sand from beneath the existing vegetated islands and spread it over the foliage to create taller, clearer nesting sites for years to come. This was thought to be the most environmentally efficient means of accomplishing the task at hand, since no chemical herbicides or large earth-moving equipment was needed to remove any shrubbery. The trust purchased a monster of the mudway dredge from the H&H Pump and Dredge Company and began the project. The monster of the mudway is a completely self-contained excavation and reclamation machine. The work is done by a pump and cutter head, which go as far as 25 feet below the water surface to dig up sand, silt, and any other materials and pump it away at distances up to 4,000 feet. The Platte River Sandbar project presented a major problem to the H&H dredging equipment. The sand is so abrasive that it eroded the steel dredge pump away in only 100 hours of operation, actually creating holes in the pump housing. So the company went back to the drawing board and developed a new type of heavy-duty dredge pump that could move heavy concentrations of abrasive substances like sand without excessive wear and with minimal maintenance. The new H&H PF series pumps are cast from a wear-resistant alloy containing 20% chrome, and the bearings are lubricated by hydraulic oil, which pressurizes the bearing assembly to block sand granules and other fine particles from entering the mechanism. This same system has been used on a number of environmental cleanup projects that require the same intricate containment system to remove gritty debris or viscous fluids without clogging the machinery. From reclaiming bauxite tailings in mining operations to cleaning up Kuwaiti oil fields following the Persian Gulf War. Modern-day equipment is relocating harmful waste to areas where it can be controlled, monitored, and processed correctly, helping to make our surroundings safe and replenishing the world we all share.
Today we have seen and heard about some of the ways that people are getting involved with the solutions to our environmental problems. A lot has been accomplished since Earth Day 1970, when the American public first started to take stock of the ecological damage going on around them. I'm Ed Begley Jr. Join me next week as we explore more environmental solutions on today's environment.
If you know of any interesting environmental success stories, call us at 407-997-9800. This has been a presentation of 5-Star Productions USA. The preceding program was sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.